My name is Rachel Carter, and I'm 33 years old. On paper, I'm the kind of woman banks smile at, and landlords offer the quiet corner unit to without even pretending to think about it. Stable job, clean credit, no drama that shows up as a red flag in a file. I work in logistics for a mid-sized company. My days are truck routes, shipment windows, and contingency plans, figuring out how to get things from point A to point B on time, on budget. And without anyone panicking, I don't chase adrenaline. I chase reliability. Shipments that arrive when they're supposed to. Spreadsheets that actually reconcile. My life used to look just as neat as my spreadsheets. I have a modest 2-bedroom apartment with neutral walls and furniture that all pass through a coupon code and a budget spreadsheet before I clicked order. The lease is in my name. The utilities are in my name. The chipped mugs in my kitchen cabinet sit beside a color-coded budget binder that knows every bill's due date and how fast my stomach drops if my credit score even thinks about dipping below 780. And then there's my husband. Theo is 31 and, in his own words, an aesthetic. Not an athlete, an aesthetic. He appreciates the finer things in life. By appreciates, I mean he wants to be photographed with them. He calls himself an influencer. And, to be fair, he does have a following. It's just more of the buys expensive things and posts pictures of them kind. Not the gets paid enough to cover those things kind. We've been married for 4 years. The first 2 were fine. Before Theo discovered his new religion. Her name is Karen. Karen is 32. Theo's best friend since college. And married to some venture capitalist who apparently just rains money on her. Karen's life isn't just a life, it's a mood board. A curated, filtered, perfectly lit template. One day, Karen's page stopped being what Theo scrolled through and became what he measured us against. Suddenly, our budget read, my salary wasn't just for the mortgage, utilities, groceries, and the occasional date night. It was for maintenance, bi-weekly facials, fillers, manicurists, curated outfits that photograph well, boys' brunches, where the cocktails cost more than our weekly grocery run. I tried to talk to him. Theo, we can't do this, I said one night, staring at my spreadsheet while he scrolled his phone. We're $2,000 over budget this month. He waved a hand without looking up. Ugh. You can't put a price on the brand, he said. This is an investment. Karen says, I don't remember the rest of the sentence because I stopped listening after Karen says, I had heard it so many times I could finish it myself. Karen says you have to spend money to make money. Karen says, appearances matter. Karen says if you want a luxury life, you have to act like you already have it. If Karen ever said anything practical, I never heard about it. This week, everything finally came to a head. It was time for Theo's annual content trip with Karen. Last year, it was a spa weekend that cost $1,500 and bought us about 3 weeks of him being slightly less unbearable. This year, they were doing it right. He came into my home office on Tuesday night while I was trying to untangle a shipping manifest issue. He didn't knock. Babe, I need the Amex, he said. I didn't look up. You have your authorized user card. What's wrong with it? I have to pay the hotel balance. For the trip. It's due tomorrow. My fingers paused over the keyboard. Okay. How much? He slid a piece of paper onto my desk like he was handing me a menu. It was an invoice from the Azure Cove Villas. The logo alone made my bank account start sweating. My eyes scanned the page. Final balance. Du $5. 128. Woosher. I stopped typing. $5,000, I asked. Slowly. He leaned against the doorframe in a silk robe he didn't pay for. Uh-huh. That's for the 4-night oceanfront suite. Karen is getting the junior suite. So I have to get oceanfront. It's better for pictures. Hell, I said, my voice going very flat. Very calm, the way it does at work, when a shipment is already on fire. This is more than our mortgage. We cannot afford this. This is insane. He sighed. That dramatic, put upon sound that made me feel like I was the one being unreasonable for not enjoying setting my money on fire. He came closer and sat on the edge of my desk. Blocking my monitors? Rachel, stop being so practical. It's an experience. It's not just a hotel. I'm going to be networking. Content. Connections. Brand deals. This is part of the plan. Besides, Karen's husband is paying for her room and her flights. You just have to pay for mine. I just have to pay $5,000. I repeated. He smiled, like he was explaining something to a slow child. He put a hand on my shoulder. Nails perfectly manicured on my dime. You pay for it. I'm the view. He said. I have to be seen. It's part of the package. You get to be with me. I get to be maintained. That's the deal. I'm the view. Something in my chest went very still. All the resentment I'd been swallowing that overtime I'd worked to cover his investments. The embarrassment of having my card declined at a team dinner because he'd bought a $1,200 coat I didn't know about. The way he dismissed every concern with Karen says it all clicked into place. He didn't see me as a partner. He saw me as infrastructure. A system that quietly funds his aesthetic. I looked at him at his perfectly filled lips. The flawless skin bought with treatments I booked. The $400 robe he was wearing to sit around our apartment, and I smiled. You know what, Theo, I said softly. You're right. That's fair. His whole face lit up. Relief and smug satisfaction mixing together. See, he said. I knew you'd get it. Absolutely. The view needs to be maintained. Don't worry about it. I said, I'll handle the invoice. You're the best. He chirped, kissing the top of my head before gliding out of the room. Probably already texting Karen to tell her the ATM had approved the transaction. I sat there for a minute, listening to the quiet hum of my computer, the faint ringing in my ears. Then I picked up my phone. Azure Cove Villas. This is Marissa. How may I assist you? The woman on the other end said. Hi. I said, my voice perfectly polite. I'm calling about reservation number 882 GF. The name on the reservation is Theo Carter. But the card on file is mine. She confirmed my last name and the last 4 digits of the Amex. Yes. Ms. Carter. I see the reservation. How can I help you? I need to cancel. I said, what's the cancellation policy? You're just inside our 72-hour window. She said, you're eligible for a full refund of your deposit, and the remaining balance will be voided. Excellent. I replied, please cancel it effective immediately. May I ask the reason for the cancellation? Change of plans? I said, the view is no longer available. I hung up. The $5 eBay Arshaba 50 refund would hit my card in 3 to 5 business days. My brain automatically slotted that into my mental spreadsheet. Credit opened up Pressure eased. Space to breathe. My job is logistics. Point A to point B. Point A was me exhausted. Overdrawn in every possible way. Funding a lifestyle I didn't live. Point B was anywhere else. I opened a new browser tab. American Airlines. First class. Non-stop to Las Vegas. Leaving Friday morning, the same day Theo's content trip was supposed to start. Returning Sunday night. Total cost about $2. Babe. New tab. A very nice, very famous hotel on the Strip. High floor suite with a soaking tub and blackout curtains. Total cost for the weekend. About $1. 650. My total for my own experience roughly $4. 450. Less than the price of sponsoring Theo's oceanfront ego. A bargain. Really, I paid for it all on the Amex. Same card. Different view. The next 2 days. I was the perfect, supportive wife. Are you all packed? Babe, don't forget your sunscreen, I said, wandering into the bedroom while he filmed a packing flat lay for Instagram 3 new swimsuits. Linen sets. Sunglasses. I knew I'd see later on the statement. He was glowing, floating around the house like he was already on the beach. Friday morning. His flight was at 8:00 a.m. Mine was at 11:00. I've got an early meeting. I lied smoothly. I'll drop you at the airport. At 0 a.m. I pulled up to the departures curb and put the car in park. Have the best time, I said, kissing his cheek. You deserve it. I know, he said, adjusting his designer suitcase handle. I'll try to text you. But we're going to be so busy. Don't wait up. I watched him disappear through the automatic doors, swallowed by the terminal. Then I drove home, pulled into the parking lot, popped the trunk, and grabbed the small, practical suitcase I'd packed and hidden under a moving blanket 2 days ago. 3 hours later, I was back at the same airport, different terminal, different destination, different purpose. Bit 0 p.m. I was 30,000 feet in the air, sipping surprisingly decent champagne and watching a movie. My phone was on airplane mode. Somewhere, Theo believed he was the only one heading toward an unforgettable weekend. He had no idea that, for the first time in years, I was finally the one choosing the view. When the plane touched down in Las Vegas, the air felt different, dry, electric, and free. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was managing someone else's expectations. No lists, no invoices, no tell, just me. I checked into my hotel, a quiet, high-floor suite overlooking the Strip. Not flashy, not curated, just clean, modern, and mine. I took a long shower, ordered an overpriced burger, and spent the first night doing nothing but breathing. By Saturday morning, I was already starting to feel like myself again. I put on the simple navy dress Theo once called boring and went downstairs to the casino. I sat at a $50 blackjack table, bought in for $1. Ling ling ling. And ordered champagne, because this weekend wasn't about saving, it was about balance. For 3 hours, I didn't think about Theo or budgets or Karen's smug Instagram captions. Then, at 9:17 p.m., just as I was deciding whether to split eights My phone, face down beside my drink, started buzzing. Buzz. Tail. Buzz. Missed call. Buzz. Buzz. Missed calls, piling up. He let it ring. The dealer raised an eyebrow. Busy night. Something like that. I said, sliding a chip forward. Hit me. 2 minutes later. The first text came in. Theo. They said the reservation's canceled. My cards declined. Fix this? Then another. Theo. They're saying I have no room. Karen's already checked in. I'm stranded in the lobby. Huh? Fix this. I took a sip of champagne and smiled faintly. The bubbles felt sharper. Cleaner. I kept playing for another hour. Won. About $400. Cashed out. And moved the bar across the floor. I let the phone ring again twice before answering. Theo, I said, keeping my voice even. Rachel. What the hell did you do? His voice was jagged. The kind of anger that comes from embarrassment. I could hear chaos in the background. Lobby, chatter. Karen's high-pitched voice. I'm having a drink. I said calmly. What's up? Don't play dumb with me. The hotel says the reservation was canceled. My card got declined. Declined. Rachel, you turned off my card. I didn't turn it off, I said, signaling the bartender for another drink. But I did reallocate the luxury view budget. Turns out a $5. 000 view was too rich for my blood. I opted for a $4. 500 view of a blackjack table instead. There was a long, stunned silence. I could almost hear Karen whispering in the background. Wait. Did she just say blackjack? Theo's voice dropped to a dangerous hiss. You're in Vegas. I am. I said. First-class flight was lovely. Thank you for asking. My suite's great. You'd hate it. Very minimalist. Not enough mirrors. You stole my vacation money, he screamed. You did this to humiliate me. You think this is funny? No. Theo. I said softly. I think this is overdue. He started to say something, but I cut him off. You handed me a $5 000 bill and told me to pay it because I should be grateful to be with you. That's not a marriage. That's a business arrangement. And I'm closing the account. In the background, I heard Karen gasp. Hale. She's crazy. Theo's voice cracked. Karen had to put a standard room on her card. It's $1,200 a night. You owe her $4. Babe. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. No. Theo. I don't owe Karen anything. You do. You and your content lifestyle. You want it to be maintained. Go find a new maintenance plan. I hung up. Then I did the most satisfying thing I'd done in 4 years. I opened my Amex app. Scrolled to authorized users. Found Theo's card and hit freeze card. Then I sent one final text. Since you're charging $1. $200 a night to your friend. I assume you don't need my card anymore. Have a great trip. And then I blocked him. And Karen. I spent the rest of that weekend doing everything he used to make me feel guilty for sleeping in. Ordering room service. Taking long walks down the strip alone. Sunday night. I came home. My flight landed after dark. I took a rideshare back to the apartment. Humming quietly to myself. But the moment I stepped into the hallway, I felt something, a heaviness. The door was locked. But the air inside was wrong still. But charged. When I turned on the lights, my stomach dropped. He'd been here. The living room looked like a crime scene. cushions slashed, picture frames shattered. My coffee table upended. One of my good bottles of red wine smashed against the backsplash, the dark stain running down the wall like blood. But that wasn't what stopped me. It was in the den. My pinball machine. A 1980s Comet. Fully restored, my one real indulgence. My project. My escape. The back glass, the hand-painted artwork was gone. Shattered. He hadn't just cracked it. He'd taken one of my 10-pound dumbbells and smashed it. Glass everywhere. Tiny shards in the carpet. The console. Even the curtains. I just stood there. No anger. No tears. Just emptiness. That machine was the one thing in this apartment that was completely mine. The one thing he couldn't rebrand or make aesthetic. He always called it tacky clutter. Now he'd erased it. It hit me all at once. This wasn't about a trip. Or money. Or ego. He didn't just want me to fund his life. He wanted to erase mine. I stood there for a long time, surrounded by broken glass and the faint smell of wine and dust. Then I picked up my phone. First, call a 24-hour locksmith. Second, my older sister. Megan. Megs. I said when she answered, my voice shaking. I need to file, and I need to know how to get a restraining order. Her tone changed instantly, calm. Fierce. Professional. I'm on my way. Don't touch anything. Take pictures. When she arrived an hour later, she didn't say much. She just walked through the apartment with her phone camera, documenting everything. The destroyed furniture, the stains, the broken glass. When she reached the pinball machine, she stopped, stared at it, then turned to me. This was deliberate, she said. He wanted to hurt something you loved. I nodded, feeling the truth of it in my chest. I think, she added quietly, he wanted you to come home to it. I sat down on the floor. For the first time that weekend, I started to cry. Not because I missed him, because I realized how long I'd been living with someone who wanted to win, not love, and I was done losing. By the next morning, we had filed, and this time, I wasn't just planning shipments or routes, I was mapping my escape. The filing went through faster than I expected. Megan didn't waste a minute. By Monday morning, my sister attorney, Megan Holt, family law specialist, was sitting beside me in her downtown office, reading through every photo, every message, every financial statement. When she finished, she exhaled sharply. Rach, this isn't just a messy marriage, she said. It's financial abuse. And now, property destruction. We're not just filing for divorce. We're filing for a restraining order. She was right. The pictures alone told the story. The smashed glass, the wine-soaked walls, the shredded couch, and that broken pinball machine. It wasn't just evidence. It was motive. By noon, she drafted everything. Grounds, irreconcilable differences, financial dissipation, and domestic vandalism. The emergency order was granted that same day. Theo was legally required to stay at least 100 yards away from me and the apartment, which, thankfully, was solely in my name. When the judge's gavel hit, it felt like a breath I'd been holding for 4 years finally left my lungs. That peace lasted about 12 hours, because that night, the voicemails started. 19 of them, all from one number, Celeste, Theo's mother. If entitlement were a person, it would sound like her, The first message started with mock sweetness. Rachel. Honey, I just heard what you did to my son. You've humiliated him. He's a wreck. You need to fix this. The second was sharper. You locked him out of his own home. You canceled his cards. Do you know how cruel that is? You owe him an apology and you owe me $4. Babe. I had to help him pay Karen back after your little stunt. By message 9. She wasn't pretending anymore. You ungrateful. Cold woman. You ruined Theo's life over a trip. Be a wife. Take care of your husband. Or, God help me. I'll make sure you regret this. I listened to every one. Then hit save all. Megan told me to. Evidence. She said flatly. She drafted a cease and desist letter addressed to Celeste, citing harassment and defamation, and emailed it the same night. Theo, meanwhile, was staying at his parents' house. He'd been served there, papers, restraining order, and all, when he finally did show up again, it was with police supervision, a civil stand-by. It was a gray Thursday morning when 2 officers arrived at my apartment building. One of them knocked gently. Ms. Carter, we're here for the property retrieval. Behind them stood Theo, jaw tight, eyes bloodshot, and Celeste, wearing oversized sunglasses indoors, like she was shielding herself from accountability. Stay in the back room. Megan whispered, let them take his things. Don't engage. I wanted to argue. I wanted to see the look on his face when he realized what he'd lost. But I listened. I stayed by the hallway, close enough to hear everything. Theo's voice carried first. Officer. She's keeping my stuff. Me designer bags. My shoes. My ring light. It's all here. Sit. The officer said patiently. We're here to ensure you collect personal belongings, clothes, toiletries, essentials. That's all. This is all his fault. Celeste's voice pierced through. He's been emotionally abused. She froze his accounts. She stole his vacation. Mom, the other officer said, we're not here to mediate your family dispute. I heard drawers opening, hangers scraping, zippers. Then, my Le Creuset Theo shouted, the white Dutch oven. That's mine. Megan rolled her eyes from the kitchen doorway. Oh. For God's sake. I stepped out before I could stop myself. Theo, I said evenly. I bought that pot 2 years ago with my Christmas bonus. You've never cooked a single meal in your life. He turned red-faced. It was part of the aesthetic. You know how many videos I filmed in this kitchen. It's mine. The officer Sahil. Sit. Unless it's your personal clothing or hygiene items. It's a civil matter for the court. Leave the cookware. Celeste gasped, like someone had just insulted the royal family. This is abuse. This is theft. Ma'am? The officer said again, voice hardening. That's enough. They dragged 3 suitcases out the door, half full of designer clothes I didn't recognize. A collection of skincare bottles. And what I strongly suspected was Karen's borrowed ring light. When the elevator doors finally closed, I exhaled. For the first time, my apartment felt still again. Not silent. Not empty. Just clean. Even with the wine stain on the grout. Even with the ghost of broken glass under the carpet. It felt like peace. That night, Megan opened a bottle of wine and sat cross-legged on my couch. You know, she said, swirling her glass, I've handled a lot of divorces. But Theo, he's special. I laughed weakly. Special. How? Special, as in dangerously delusional, she said. He's going to fight. Not because he wants you back, because he wants control. She was right again. Because the next week, we got the notice. Mediation hearing scheduled. Theo and his lawyer were requesting spousal support, damages for emotional distress, and full rights to shared marital property. Megan smiled when she read it. Not kindly. Oh, this is going to be fun, she said, sliding the papers back across the table. He wants to talk about value. Let's show him what he actually owes. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid of the fight. The mediation room was too bright. All glass walls and fake plants that looked more alive than most of the people sitting there. On one side of the table, Theo, his slick lawyer, with the too white smile, and a stack of papers he clearly thought made him look serious. On the other, me, Megan, and a single folder. Theo didn't look at me when he walked in. He looked through me, that same performance calm he used when his phone camera was rolling. His outfit screamed, damage control influencer, tailored blazer. Perfect hair. And the faintest trace of self-pity in his eyes. His lawyer cleared his throat. Old professionalism. My client, he began, is, of course, devastated by this breakdown of the marriage. He's prepared to be reasonable. He is requesting exclusive use of the marital apartment during proceedings. 8美元, 000 per month in temporary spousal support. 25美元, 000 for emotional distress caused by public humiliation stemming from the canceled vacation, and forgiveness of all credit card debt accrued during the marriage. I almost laughed out loud. Megan didn't even blink. She just slid our folder forward. This, she said, is our offer. The lawyer opened it. His smile faltered almost immediately. Inside were highlighted Amex statements, 4 years' worth. Every charge, every boutique, every facial, every content trip, and the final page, the $5, 128, 50 hotel invoice. Your client, Megan said calmly, was an authorized user on my client's card. He has systematically abused that privilege to the tune of $114, 000 over 4 years, not including the attempted charge for his most recent non-essential brand experience. The lawyer glanced up. That's a bold number. It's a factual one, Megan said, crisp as glass. Furthermore, your client stated on record text messages, screenshots, voice memos, that the arrangement of their marriage was that he would be maintained because he is the view. Theo flinched. That, Megan continued, is not a marriage. It's a commercial contract. And my client is terminating it for breach. Theo's lawyer tried to recover. Mr. Carter contributed to this relationship in emotional labor, companionship, and Megan cut him off. He contributed in spending sprees, social media posts, and vandalism. She slid another photo across the table, my apartment. The wine stain, the wrecked furniture, and the shattered pinball machine. Then another, the police report, and a $1, 950 restoration. Quote from a specialist. This, Megan said, tapping the page, is what emotional distress looks like when you're on the receiving end of it. Theo's mouth opened. That was an accident. Megan didn't let him finish. Would you like to add perjury to the list? Because the police report, timestamps, and texts indicate otherwise. The room went dead silent. Even his lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Theo tried to pull himself together. Rachel, you're blowing this out of proportion. I supported you. I managed our house. I gave you my best years. I am the View. I looked up from the papers for the first time. Theo, I said quietly. The View doesn't come with a credit limit. He blinked. The View is currently unemployed by choice. I continued. And owes me a pinball machine. Megan slid the last sheet across the table. And here's the estimate for that. Theo's lawyer's voice cracked when he spoke. This is outrageous. No, Megan said. It's math. Then she smiled a sharp, predatory smile that I'd seen only once before. When she negotiated a corporate fraud case. We're in a fault consideration state, she said. Here's our proposal. Your client waives all rights to the apartment, receives no spousal support, and assumes full responsibility for his personal debts. In exchange, my client will not pursue criminal charges for the vandalism, nor file a civil claim for financial abuse. Take it or leave it. Theo went pale. His lawyer leaned in, whispering furiously. For a moment, I thought he'd fight. His ego almost wouldn't let him. But then his eyes flicked down to the pictures, the broken glass, the chaos he'd created, and something in him deflated. He signed. Not for love. Not for closure. For self-preservation. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks later. No spousal support. No apartment. No cards. No View. Megan and I celebrated with takeout and cheap wine on my couch, the same couch I'd once cried on after Theo bought a $900 statement chair that didn't fit through the door. She raised her glass. To clean slates. To quiet apartments. I said, it took months to rebuild. But I did. I found a specialist in Michigan who still restores vintage pinball machines. He tracked down a replacement back glass for the Comet. It's shipping next week. The stain in the kitchen is gone. 2. I repainted the wall myself, a slightly warmer shade this time. Karen unfollowed me on everything, which honestly feels like winning the lottery. Celeste still sends the occasional email from a new address, each more unhinged than the last. I archive them without reading. Megan calls it digital compost. And as for Theo, the last I heard, he's moved back in with his parents, trying to rebrand himself as a minimalist. I guess losing everything makes you rethink what's essential. As for me, I still wake up early on weekends, make coffee in my white Dutch oven, and listen to the quiet hum of my apartment. Sometimes, I stand in front of the pinball machine, its new glass, glowing under soft light and smile. Because the best view in the world isn't a beach, or a mirror, or an audience. It's a credit card statement with a zero balance. It's a life that finally makes sense again. It's freedom. And this time, I paid for it myself.